It's the Video Jungle Podcast. Find your fascinating.
Welcome to the Video Jungle Podcast. I am Arty Gold. This is Justin Andrews.
That's me, Justin.
And we talk a lot about our company.
Didn't expect me to use my name there, did you?
No, it was a really crafty follow-up, Justin. Thanks.
Clever.
And it leads right into what we're going to talk about, which is creativity. Fantastic. We talk a lot about our parent company, Animus, and a funny thing happened with Animus. A lot of our clients, we call it culture. Talk about the culture videos that we do for them, and a lot of it has to do with the work-life balance. And one of the things that happened here was our work-life balance internally is a lot of, talking heads, corporate videos. I remember I think I was on a family trip. I got a phone call from you and a couple of the crew. You had an internal meeting about setting up something that was important to them, which was how do we do our corporate stuff, but still do some creative things, and how do we accomplish that? And I think the question for them was, can we use your equipment, and can we spend some time using the editing facilities to get our stuff done? And I remember you saying, yeah, this is going to be, I think you called it and it still is called the Animus Super Shorts Club, correct?
That's correct. I did not come up with the name. It's a sad reality that most of the best ideas around here have nothing to do with us.
That's true. Yeah, we just walk around and say, yes, go ahead, feel free.
Yes, good idea.
But the Animus Super Short Club acronym is A.S.S. Club. And I think it's been a very fun ride for me personally to watch that grow for a lot of reasons. And really it comes down to opening up what is kind of missing, I think, from a lot of production companies, which is you just put your head down and you just keep doing talking heads at clients' places with the screen behind you or on location, and you end up doing like corporate video after corporate video after corporate video. This allowed us to try to get into short films, documentaries, exploring we'll talk a little bit about equipment, exploring different styles. And I know you and I have kind of supported this in a big way because I see that twinkle and that light in the eye when I see one of our editors editing something they're really passionate about.
Yeah, I think to us, A.S.S. Club, the Animus Shorts Club, is really like a definitive thing tied to our culture. That is who we are. It's what we would hire for. Is someone has to be passionate about what the world of video can do from a storytelling standpoint. And we want to invest in our team to have that passion, light that fire. And it was two people from our team that sort of really started establishing this idea because they had things they wanted to work on beyond just the work that we were bringing in here, the paid client work, and saying, what would Animus work on if we weren't getting paid, if we were the ones that were just finding things that we thought were interesting? Which is tricky from a business standpoint to say, like, how do we pay to work on things, essentially? That's what we're doing. We're paying to work on projects. But it encourages us to have a mindset around ourselves that our clients should also have, which is this idea of finding your fascinating. Like, we want our team to find and curate interesting stories, whether they're real stories about people or whether they're scripts that they're writing or whether they're just little short ideas that they want to put together and play with. That's the mentality that A.S.S. Club has, which is right tied in with the mentality that our culture has around finding fascinating. We don't always get to do it, but it's what we need to have. It's the fire that we need to have in our company to grow and do awesome stuff.
And not always having the time to do it. One of the things that I noticed over the last year and a half or so running the A.S.S. Club within the company is just the ability to have that voice is important for our crew because you can see it. You can see how it changes. We talk about team camaraderie and unity and getting together. But more importantly, I always say to everybody that's working at Animus that what you get hired to do or be isn't what I expect you to be in 10 years from now. If you started as an intern and you worked your way up to a DP, as some of our staff has done, that's beautiful. I love watching that.
Look at Harper. He's the CEO now. He's running this place.
He started as a mere pup, an actual pup.
An actual
and now
dog.
He's now a dog CEO.
He never thought it was possible. And I used to talk about it all the time in the car rides here. But I think like the message tied to this episode is we're going to talk a little bit about what our Super Shorts Club is. People should be listening to it and thinking, how can we build something like this at our organization? Whether your corporation, a large corporation, or a smaller production company? How can you build something that stands for the culture and the type of ideas that you really want to bring to light so that you're not just living in the world of the status quo things that you do and think you have to do? And that's what A.S.S. Club is to us. It's the fire for great ideas that we can then translate into, renting different gear, trying different things,
right,
stepping out of our comfort zone, both in terms of the content that we're doing, but also the style of production, so that we can learn something and grow.
And I think that one of the ways we can do this is, you just mentioned like renting gear, right? If you're a DP at a company, you have nothing to do, or you're figuring out like, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on, but we don't have a lot of shoots. Is it worth renting a really nice lens just to go out and practice with that? I say all the time, we have cameras. We just choose whether we turn them on or not. But if you choose to turn them on, what can you do with it? I love when I see like a 30-second or 40-second clip that's been done in our studio with a crazy amount of different lights that we have, or maybe we've rented for a shoot, just to see what we can do with them or explore. And I'll tell all the companies out there, once again, I think this was started internally by two of our other employees, where every Friday we would meet for the creative forum, right? We would get together on a Friday and we would analyze some videos we liked or a story that somebody saw, and we would just talk about it. And I think we're going to explore expanding that even more to turn that into a spec Friday, where we actually film some specs to try our hand at different creative things that we can do. But the point is that you have to schedule your time, and it's really up to us as owners to allow them to schedule that time, but also adhere to that time so that that creativity is being explored. Because I think there's nothing worse than just going through the entire week and then at the end of the week go, what did we do this week? And it happens all the time. How many times do I'm going to speak for you, but I know sometimes I'm driving home on a Friday, I'm like, man, that week went by fast. But you're, between the 100 interviews you've done or 3 locations or editing that you've done, it's hard to remember. However, the one thing that I know about the A.S.S. Club is there's never been a time when we've done something for the A.S.S. Club I didn't drive home going, man, that was really, really nice. That was a really great story. And that starts way back to our original documentary we did.
My name is Alyssa. I have a disease called spinal muscular atrophy.
He used the words, she will succumb to the disease in maybe a year or 2, but I believe in miracles.
She always wanted to do things for SMA. She took this and she went big.
I'm going to do everything I can to make you the most famous disabled person in our country.
Your stories I tell. Dare to be remarkable.
How long was that documentary? What did it end up being?
50 minutes.
Yeah. And this is a short passion project that Justin fell into. It was supposed to be a 3-minute story about a girl that suffers from SMA, and we thought this story was really intriguing, so we went to do, I think it was going to be a 3 or 4 minute story that you pitched, and we went to do the interview, and the interview was so profound and so emotional. I think Justin and I looked at each other and like, well, this is going to be more than 4 minutes. We followed her around for like a year, but I just remember, like, no matter what was happening in the corporate world, that story resonated with me. And I will tell the reason I'm bringing this up is because that story, Alyssa's story, more than any other thing we've done here, made me realize what we could accomplish if we could bring those types of stories into the corporate world. Because corporate at that time hadn't really thought about real stories like that. They were like, hey, this is what we've accomplished. This is the kind of people we work with. These are the kind of people we want to work here. You should work with us. We've done this, we've done that. But Alyssa's story in the world of pharma and medical, it made me realize how can we get that type of story into our corporate world and get them to understand, like, that's the kind of story people want to watch. And I think you're on the same page as well. And I think that is like the unlock code right now for a lot of these corporations. How can we be real? How can we tell real stories?
Yeah, I think if you look at how we're doing it right now with the A.S.S. Club, the idea is like protecting the time. And that means scheduling an actual time block every week to sit down and make progress on it. So we have probably 20 ideas that we're working on right now. Andy's working on something about the arcade industry. Roy just wrapped memory video about VHS stores and that experience. Murph just wrapped Burning My Tongue, and that's probably going to be released soon. I'm working on something about the Children's Hospital in Providence. We have a lot of things happening at once, and it's having that dedicated weekly time to make sure we're making progress on it. But it also gives us an opportunity to pitch ideas. We called it the lion cage at first, and everyone gets to pitch an idea, and then the team votes on, okay, which thing are we actually going to progress now? Because it's hard to move 10 things forward at once. It's a lot easier to move 1 or 2 things forward. So it's allowed us to get better at curating, pitching, teaching, giving our team the opportunity to step into new and different roles and grow, but also end up like building out their credentials more. Like you look at Roy's success with Memory Video, he really has changed his pedigree from just an editor to someone that can produce, direct, has gone and done the festival circuit, and now he's working on he's currently reading a ton of Jerry Springer books. I'll say no more, but he's working on
Dog the
a much
Bounty
bigger,
Hunter.
a much bigger endeavor, and now has more connections to make that type of thing happen.
And so listen, this isn't easy. I think we know that we try to schedule the time. Corporate will pay the bills, so we have to understand that we have to schedule accordingly. So do we miss a couple of Fridays? Yes. But here's the thing. In our world, and I would say our world of production, where it's usually driven by executive producers and producers to keep everything on track, one of the greatest delights that I've noticed for our company is that schedule is kept back on track by our employees and the crew, because we don't have to push them to get Fridays back up. We don't have to push them to grab a camera and to explore their downtime, when there is some downtime, to help fill their passion. And so the thing I love the most about exploring the A.S.S. Club is our goal is to make impactful videos. And sometimes we lose track of that because, jobs become jobs and you're trying to tell the best story for the clients and you start to lose track of what's out there. If you can find some way to do this for yourself or for your company, being able to explore that work-life balance and finding great stories just really helps you to get back on track for your mission. It's like I said, our mission is telling impactful stories, finding your fascinating. Yours might be something different. I think the key for us is how do we connect the dots and how do we get clients to see this as well? Well, I will say that the outside world has already seen it, because this has been a very big key for us hiring new people, because we know right away if they fit our culture by how they explore themselves in this way through the impactful videos.
Yeah, and I think that message of it really is challenging people to recognize that if you're in the world of marketing, if you're in the world of filmmaking, you're probably passionate about something, right? Take the time to explore your ability to work on something that's for you. It's for no one else. And let that fire, let that flame burn, and push yourself to accomplish something that you're proud of, because I'll pretty much guarantee it. If you can get fired up about something and make something that you're proud of, it will fuel you to then do something even better. And that's important. For me, part of what was tied into that when we first started doing this, just the challenge of it made me take our equipment, go to all of my grandparents who are still alive, and interview them all. And I know, I haven't done anything with it, but I know that I wouldn't have done that if we weren't pushing this message of A.S.S. Club. And I know that someday that footage is going to be invaluable to me, right? No doubt in my mind. And that's what this sort of mindset can do for you.
And lastly, what I'll ask you is this, and your honest opinion on this is, I think going through or allowing your mind to open up to this passion project, A.S.S. Club philosophy, what do you think the benefits of doing this process is to our clients, right? Because they may not understand completely what we're doing when we tell these stories or how they can use these types of stories, but there are great lessons that we learned that I think are very valuable to all of our clients.
Yeah, well, first of all, starting with the cons, not to our clients, but to us, is money and time. But you do have to plan and invest in it because it's worth it. So the benefits of us doing it for our clients is that it gives us freedom to explore new ideas, new approaches to storytelling, new ways to go about capturing that story. And then what we do with clients is introduce some ideas in what we call moonshot ideas in new pitches to clients. So actively working on ideas that we're spinning up based on how we go about brainstorming in A.S.S. Club, which is different than if we're just given a brief and told this is what you need to do. So it opens the idea to just new approaches to storytelling. But if a client actually does this and brings an idea like this internally, the benefit to them is, again, fostering a culture with your team that gets you deeply excited about it. It's sort of the Simon Sinek starting with why, gets you deeply excited about your job. And if you're in an organization that might not be working on the most creatively rewarding topics, you need something like this to get your team inspired to make the type of content that they're proud of. Otherwise, it can be a little bit humdrum, and nobody wants that.
And I truly believe, and I have gone with this belief for a long time, that everybody has a story, and you can find that story. And that includes everybody that's working for a company. They have a story, their company has a story, and sometimes you can't see the story because you're inside of that bubble, so to speak. And you need somebody to come in and do what we do, which is find you fascinating and explore those stories, because it is going to be the best way you build your brand. It may be the best recruitment tool you have as well. I will tell you my one con before we sign off on this podcast, which is the only thing I'll say about this, Justin, is everybody in our studio thinks they're a director now. And it's hard to walk around because the hallways are filled with big heads that are bumping into each other.
The egos are, we don't have enough room for them here. And we've got a pretty big space, but like, I don't know.
A lot of directors.
It does feel, but on that same note, it feels good to rub shoulders with some famous people every day.
Yeah, the famous people in our studio. Like
I get Roy's autograph 10 times a day.
It's like,
I got Roy's autograph.
Murph and Roy went down the film festival circuits, and they came back in like Spielberg.
Do you have Roy's autograph?
I do not have his
autograph. I've got a 2018 Roy Power.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in my journal. I can hook you up.
That's fantastic. I know sometimes you and Roy get a little close at the meetings, so I know that you're very, very intimate with him, but not that way, like creatively intimate.
Yeah, we like to mind meld by putting our heads together. Not that. Just delete that.
This has been the Video Jungle Podcast. Find your fascinating, a product of Animus Studios.